Now, in accordance with the emergency orders issued by local officials in the state of Michigan's legislation, which allows for electronic meetings of public bodies, notice is hereby given that the city of Lathrup Village City Council will be meeting electronically using www.zoom.us for video conferences of public access. Can we have roll call, please?
Mayor Garrett,
Here in the city of Lathrup Village, Oakland County.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
Here, City of Lathrup Village, Oakland County, Michigan.
Councilperson Ferguson,
Present, Oakland County, Michigan, Lathrup Village.
and Councilperson Siddiqui.
Here, Lathrup Village, Michigan, Oakland County.
Okay, well, thank you. I invite everyone to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Pledge
allegiance
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation,
under
under
God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Somebody wants to approve the agenda.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second,
It's been moved and second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilman Ferguson,
yes.
Mayor Garrett,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
Yes.
and Councilman Siddiqui.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And next up, we have public comments for items on the agenda. And I'm looking up all of the items that I had that came in. Just 2 seconds to try to go through my phone to try to find these. I apologize that today is technologically interesting. So we had quite a few, I believe. This is regarding marijuana, but I think this is for the actual. For Mr. Griffin, that's actually for the approval of it. That's not for the ordinance. Right, Cheryl?
Mr. Griffin actually has his hand up in the audience.
Okay, so that's why before we do that, this is for whatever on the agenda. And so that's why I'm trying to make sure that his letter is for the ordinance or for the approval of marijuana to be in Lathrup Village. So that's why I want to make it very clear of what's on the agenda for tonight. So you can let him in.
Good evening, members. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. And I appreciate this is Jerry Griffin. Yes, I'm in Brighton, Michigan. And I appreciate the clarification. You do have an update on cannabis on your agenda for tonight. And so I thought this would be the time to chime in. And I will be quickly and brief. I did send a letter to council last week regarding an issue that I would hope you would consider addressing before you finish work on the marijuana ordinance. During the meetings of the study group, the issue for the need of adequate parking was discussed on several occasions. And as you know, there are a good many properties along Southfield Road that have parking that is in the county right of way and under county jurisdiction. Now, as I pointed out in the letter, this issue came up in Royal Oak as it related to properties along Woodward Avenue, and Royal Oak decided to enact more stringent standards for those applicants that are on Woodward looking for retail cannabis facilities. And in light of this and the fact that there is a proposed redesign of Southfield Road that the Road Commission is currently considering, I'm suggesting the council either include language stating that parking areas in their county right of way not be included when calculating the minimum parking requirement for cannabis retail facilities, or perhaps some language is added when you're scoring grid, when you're doing points, that if the parking that is being utilized for the minimum parking requirement, that if it's not under control of the owner or landlord or something like that, that they get less points or something along those lines. The issue, of course, is should the county at some time in the future decide to continue a redesign of Southfield Road, those parking could be affected by that and could lead to overflow into neighboring streets. Lastly, your zoning ordinance requires in section 51310, where it states, any such facilities now or hereafter constructed may continue to be used, but only in accordance with the permission of the governmental unit having jurisdiction. I would strongly suggest that you require in your application process that if a cannabis license applicant is utilizing right of way for approval, that there is some affirmed permission from the road commission or whatever governmental body that allows for that use and sets the scopes and limits of that approval. Unfortunately, there has been a lot of people who utilize lawsuits when they're disgruntled and don't get approved. And I think if the city were to not utilize its own language and its ordinance and through the approval process, someone might use that as a basis for a lawsuit. But I do thank you for your time, and I appreciate that you allowed me to get this in tonight as you're discussing at least an update on it. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that has their hand up?
No.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that wants to speak? I went through the letters that I got, and they're not for anything that is on the agenda per se. People that are against the approval of cannabis in Lathrup Village, I'll save those until the public comment at the end. So we're going to close the public comment. First up is going to be the action request for consideration and approval, the appointment for the vacated city council seat. The last time we had a discussion regarding this, we have 60 days to fill the vacancy of Donna Stallings. And when we had our last meeting, we came to a 50-50 vote. So we're bringing this up again today. We had approximately 7 people that turned in their applications. And we had 2 additional people that turned in their applications, but it was after the closing date. And it was where it was down to 2 particular people, and just opening that up for discussion again.
All right, well, I guess I'll start. I mean, I don't know if people have had a chance to rethink it, but I still, feel that, Dawn Medley, would be a solid candidate for the position, especially given that our biggest decision that we've made in a long time, and probably will make for a long time, is whether or not to allow cannabis retail in the city, and she was on that committee and did a fair amount of research. So even though this is a short-term appointment for probably around 3 months, I think she'll be able to hit the ground running on what is probably our biggest decision that we need to make. She showed interest in the city, and she did a ton of research, and so on. I know we had other good candidates as well, but I still kind of felt like her resume kind of leaped out over some of the others in terms of her experience with working with unions, working with state and local government, working with the federal government, managing huge budgets, $300 million budgets, and so forth. She just seemed like a quality candidate. So still seems to be, my front runner. I don't know how the others feel.
I think Dawn's a great candidate. I think she'd be a good addition. I still think Mike Keenan is my top choice, and that's who I would vote for. Nothing more to add really based on different from last time, but I think Mike does, very reasoned approach, very calm, good decision maker. I think he'd be a good addition to the team.
Councilman Ferguson.
You're on mute, Ian.
Sorry, my mute was a little stuck there. Don't know what happened, but I would agree with Councilman Siddiqui. I think we had the lion's share of very qualified individuals. Actually, everyone was pretty qualified. And as we narrowed the search, it's clear that we were at a stalemate. At this time, I would like to change my vote to Dawn Medley. I think that she's bringing a wealth of responsibility to the city. And I think in light of the qualifications as well as the work done, she would be the likely candidate at this time.
Okay. I just need somebody to make a motion.
Yeah, and I guess I'll make a motion to appoint Dawn Medley to the vacant term of Donna Stallings that would be valid through Tuesday, November 2nd, 2021. Is that correct? The
That is
date?
correct.
I believe it's the 8th.
Was it the 8th?
Yeah,
Okay.
it would be the first meeting following the general election.
Okay,
which I
so
believe is
I'll
Monday.
amend or correct my motion for November 8th of 2021.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Ferguson,
Yes.
Mayor Garrett,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
Yes.
Councilmember Siddiqui,
Yes.
So I would say that the motion passed, that Dawn Siddiqui has been
Dawn Medley.
Dawn Medley.
I'm so sorry. I am trying to do these two computers. I'm so trying to keep it cool that I cannot believe that this is not working, but Dawn Medley has been, will be appointed for the vacant city council seat. So that moves into action item B, which will be the swearing in. Is Dawn in the audience?
yes.
Okay. So
think she-
who is administering the official oath of office?
I will.
Thank you.
Is that Pam that said that?
No,
Cheryl.
it's Cheryl.
Oh,
Go ahead,
okay,
Cheryl.
sorry. I have a glitch on this side.
Okay, Don, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, if you'd raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Don Medley,
I, Dawn Medley,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear, affirm,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
the Charter of the City of Lathrup Village,
the Charter of the City of Lathrup Village,
and the ordinances of the City of Lathrup Village,
and the ordinances of the City of Lathrup Village,
and that I will discharge the duties of City Council member
and that I will discharge the duties of City Council member
to fill the vacated seat, term expiring November 8, 2021,
to fill the vacated seat, term expiring November 8th, 2021,
for the City of Lathrup Village, Michigan,
for the City of Lathrup Village, Michigan,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Dawn.
Thank you.
And thanks
Well,
for
my
for stepping up to fill the role. We appreciate it.
For
Yes.
my next question is Dawn jumping in now, or does she just jump in on I thought she jumped in right now, right?
She's
Yeah.
official.
Yep, okay, well,
Promoted
good
to a
luck.
panelist.
Councilwoman Medley, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
So
And
I'm
also
hoping-
in Lathrop Village in Oakland, Michigan, in Oakland County right now as well.
Thank you. And you do have the packet by chance, or can someone please email, you have it?
Mhm, I
Okay,
pulled
good.
it up.
Sweet. Did you read over it and study it? No, I'm just joking.
I actually did. I spent about an hour and a half with it.
Oh, good. Okay, then we're going to action request C, and that's the agreement for election services between Oakland County and the city of Lathrop Village.
Thank you. In regards to this, the Oakland County Elections Bureau provides services to local municipalities for the absent voter ballot counting services. And they did this past year for 16 municipalities. That was done through a grant. The grant funding is no longer available, but they are charging a minimal fee relative to conducting that service. So we're asking to sign on to that for the upcoming election.
Okay,
Okay, so I'll make a motion to adopt the attached resolution to approve the agreement for electronic services between Oakland County and the city of Lathrop Village, and authorize the mayor and the city administrator to sign the agreement and related documents.
Second.
it's been moved and second. Is there any discussion? I did have a question, but now I wonder if you'll be able to answer this, because I wanted to know how the ballots are being transported from Lathrop to Oakland County.
Typically, what we do is have the police officers transport anything that should be secure to the elections office.
And I believe in the contract somewhere, it was a long contract, but I believe it somewhere it specified that the type of container, how it was sealed and so forth. Just looking through it again to see if I can find it. I believe it was in there.
So that I understand, because I was in the business, but this is my question, I guess, let me be more specific. Is that every time, is there gonna be a specific, seeing that what I read is that the absentee ballots that come in before the election, those are the ones that are gonna be counted to start being counted by Oakland County. So every time they come in, are they gonna be taken up there? Or are we going to figure out a specific time or a specific, every Friday, every Tuesday kind of thing? That's what I'm asking.
That detail hadn't been worked out. My assumption, which may or may not be correct, is that we would transport them all at once.
I think the agreement, Bruce is correct. I think it spelled out that the county was actually going to be responsible for picking them up under, I think it's Exhibit 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not sure. I mean, that's something that I think obviously we'd have to work out with them, but they may have a security service that does come and pick those up.
Yeah.
Well,
And
it
then I
says,
think,
it says public body must deliver. So I was unsure. And so I know that for the other counties that do this basically at the end of the night, yes, the police drive it over, but I was just curious on how we were gonna do it.
no, it says here in Exhibit 1, it says public body shall by 4:30 on the day before the election have available for transfer to the county immediately upon arrival of county's representative, the ballots received by the clerk for public, and so on. So it looks like they pick them up, 4:30 the day before the election. So their representative picks it up, and then I know I read in there somewhere else that 30 days afterwards we have to pick it up, the counted ballots from them.
Yeah, we would still be required to retain them pursuant to our retention policy.
So who is a public body? That's gonna be considered, I thought that was the city of Lathrop Village.
Correct. Under this agreement, we are the public body.
Okay, so then I'm confused why it says public body must deliver such ballots. Okay, well, I'll ask Yvette because I think that okay, I'll ask Yvette. I just thought that it also should be very clear to our residents of how their ballots get delivered to the county.
I think what the section you're referring to, Mayor, is for absentee ballots that are delivered on election day
Okay,
after 4 p.m. Those would be processed by the city as if they were voted in person.
okay,
Any ballots received prior to election day would be packaged by the city and collected by the county.
Yeah, and it goes on to say, Kelly, in terms of when they pick the ballots up, they have to be in good condition, compliant with the required and appropriate sealing procedures, and a reconciled voter list from the qualified voter file that matches the number of ballots being transferred to the county.
yeah, but that was my question. My question again was just how it was being transferred.
No,
So,
I understand that. I was just saying it looks like they've got security and process for accountability in there.
Okay. If possible, I think that we need to revisit that and just to make it very clear and transparent to the residents of how their ballots are going to be, since we're going into this agreement, how they'll be transported.
Yes, either myself or Yvette will be in contact with the elections office to confirm exactly what that process is, and we'll share that with you.
Thank you.
Okay, so would you like
Yeah.
a motion to table this?
No, I mean, you can go ahead, but I'm just saying that it's
Okay.
just be very clear on how they're going to be transported.
Yeah, okay,
So no amendment to the motion.
No.
Okay,
Roll call, please. Was there a second already? Yes, there was. So,
There was.
roll
Yes.
call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
yes.
Councilman Medley,
Yes.
Councilperson Medley,
Yes.
I was
Councilperson,
going to say who?
Councilperson Siddiqui,
Yes.
Councilperson Ferguson,
yes.
and Mayor Garrett.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Next, we have from action request, action item D, Plant and Moran Professional Services Agreement, Capital Assets and Pension OPEB liability.
Thank you. In regards to preparation for the audit, there are a number of essentially schedules that need to be prepared. And we don't have the staffing capacity to get those all done. So as in previous years, we've asked Plant Moran to provide some staffing to provide some of those support services. And in particular, this year, we're looking for assistance with the capital asset schedules, the pension OPEB schedules, and some journal entries. And the pricing was included in the attached document.
Thank you. Anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt the attached professional services agreement with Plant Moran PLLC for additional services as outlined in the attached agreement, and authorize the city administrator to sign on behalf of the city of Lathrup Village.
Second,
It's been moved in second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Medley,
Yes.
Councilmember Siddiqui,
Yes.
Councilmember Ferguson,
yes.
Mayor Garrett,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor.
Yes.
It's been moved and seconded and approved.
Thank you. Now, this is a discussion. Action item number E, discussion of the brick pavers and the circular drives in the right of way.
Yes, one of the things that we discovered as part of the street reconstruction project is that some of the residents have the circular drives that are located entirely in the right of way, which is between the sidewalk and the street, as well as decorative items in their approaches to their driveways, such as the brick pavers or decorative concrete. So those can be very costly to replace. And in most cases, at least historically, we're finding that most residents do not have have a permit relative to having these items in the right of way. It's my understanding it's been the past practice to allow them to be in place. Some did obtain the extra cement permit, but that doesn't address some of the other issues. And the three main issues are, one, with the approaches, even with the decorative items, they aren't meeting our code requirements for it to be 6 inches thickness. What are we going to do with construction replacements? So are we replacing in kind, or are we going to be obligated to replace with our standard material, which would be the grass seed or asphalt or concrete? And the third one, which is pretty significant as well, is how to handle the stormwater. With Oakland County relative to their permits, they are requiring that there's a placement of essentially a drain dome in order to capture the water within that right-of-way area within the circular drive. So we wanted to open up this conversation with council to get some direction or indication on how we should start approaching this going forward, and even how to address those that are in existence. And we have Scott Ringler, the city engineer, here, as well as Susie Steck. If they may have some additional comments as well.
Yeah, and we did talk about this as well, and a little bit in our infrastructure meetings. And I think back then, Scott, we had talked about the fact that, there was nothing in the ordinance preventing them at this point, but I think you had provided guidance at that point that it might be something we wanted to look at to have an ordinance to not allow it because of replacements whenever work is necessary.
Yeah, that's true. We don't seem to be running into a lot of the brick pavers or decorative concrete, but when we do, sometimes they're problematic to replace. Our typical work item for brick pavers is to remove and replace them. However, a lot of times when you start trying to remove them old brick pavers, they crumble on you. And then trying to find replacements that match the existing is very difficult. As far as decorative concrete, I think Susie had a picture of one of them. Almost impossible to try to match that. If we were to saw cut up to the first longitudinal joint there, which is what we typically do on concrete, we'd really struggle trying to, replicate that exact pattern, color, and even finding a contractor to do that on such a small scale is going to be really expensive. It's somewhat of a specialty item.
I guess there would be two questions as I see it. Is like, one, what do we do now? With the situations that you're running into, and then I guess the second issue is, what do we do in the future? Do we allow this to take place in the future?
Well, currently I know the one decorative one, which is that picture, is on Santa Barbara, and I made sure our inspector and the contractor matched that grade, so we didn't have to remove and replace that. I think the brick pavers are some south of there. I think we're going to have to remove and replace some of them. But, we're handling it as, to remove and replace them currently as they are.
So currently, for at least for this construction season, it sounds like there's not a lot of it. So it doesn't sound like it's that big of an issue. My first point is probably not that big of an issue, but the second point is, what do we do going forward?
Yeah.
Well, and I want to speak, and then I also probably need to recuse myself when we vote on this, because one of those houses featured actually happens to be mine. And so when I was looking down at it, it's mine. And so we live on Rainbow Drive. And so pretty much up and down the street, Rainbow Drive, there are those asphalt half circles. And literally when I was reviewing the documentation is the first time that I have heard anything about this being a non-conforming use of that space or a non-allowable use. And so I think one of the first things that probably needs to happen as we're going forward is, again, talking to the folks who have these prior to the construction. Now, the ones up and down Rainbow, I think, are mostly asphalt.
Most of them are asphalt, yes. Some of them are in a better state of repair than others.
Right.
I can't say, I drove down Lathrup Boulevard this morning on my way in, and there were 4 of I'm calling the circular drives, and there is 26 of those adjacent parking pads that are for the most part, still in the right of way, still the length of a car. Some are paved, some are gravel, some are just straight dirt. And then there's a few smattered in there that have pulled permits for the extra cement to get it done. I'd say most of the circular drives are gravel or asphalt, the ones that I've been able to identify so far, which isn't many, but I've only driven part of the city.
What did we say during those infrastructure meetings, Bruce? Didn't we say that we would try to replace them with the same kind of materials? If
Yeah, well,
possible?
we said that with respect to concrete and asphalt, that we would replace it with the same material to match, concrete and asphalt. And we didn't really say anything about, decorative.
Right. I think it's unrealistic to try to match decorative because season to season, the decorative companies or the cement companies that do decorative concrete, they change. They make an adjustment and improve the color. And in many cases, because I have a decorative deck, you can't match the color. If you cut it out, you just can't do it. So in light of that, I think we need to, be ahead of the curve and attempt to make some adjustments here to, eliminate, trying to replace it one for one or identical.
I mean, it seems like a kind of a compromise solution might be to, and I don't know if there's a way to legally word this. I guess it'd be a question for Scott Baker, but could we change the ordinance in such a way to still allow decorative concrete in the right of way, but with the understanding that any future work done by the city will be repaired, based on, as if it weren't there, so that we, if they put an asphalt pad there to park one car and the city's got to rip that up to do, water main work, then the city just replaces it with the standard grass. And if the resident wants it, they have to put it back. Is there anything we can do like that, Scott, where we can write an ordinance and with kind of a caveat like that?
Yeah, that was kind of my thought on the issue. Something along those lines, that the city would either replace it with what concrete, asphalt, grass, whatever the city would replace any of the other ones, or they would provide the resident with that cost, whatever the cost of that replacement would be, and then they could try to match it, or on their own find a contractor that would put something in there, and then they would be responsible for that additional cost. Because at the end of the day, it is still an improvement in the city owned right away, so it is the city's property. And I think given that there's not a whole lot of them, I think on a case by case basis that would probably be the appropriate response. As far as recreating the ordinance, or really creating an ordinance, because and that's something we could talk about with Jill, because there are a number of other references when we talk about parking where we identify concrete, asphalt, or pavers. So it is in our zoning ordinance and a couple of other locations. So it would be something that I think planning commission could probably undertake to come up with a consistent driveway material or parking material.
And the other issue that I don't think we can ignore is the stormwater management and making certain that there are appropriate culverts or ditches or domes in place to provide for the water.
And is that something that we could mandate now? So for example, if somebody's got a circular drive there, can we mandate that they put in the necessary drain, or would they be essentially legally non-conforming?
Again, it would be legally non-conforming at this point, but if it's part of the project, and again, we're doing work on the city's right of way, bringing that kind of brings it all up and up to current standards. So
So would that have to be a new ordinance?
I'd have to look. I did not look at our stormwater management ordinance, but I don't know that we would have to. I don't think we'd have to change anything for that.
So that
Well,
would be-
right now, our ordinances are largely silent on the idea of parking in the right of way for the residential districts like this, whether it be those extra parking pads, whether they're the circular drives. I think the only mechanism that I've seen that would even allow for this would be the encroachment license.
Hmm.
I don't recall seeing anything in the stormwater management that would specifically say anything about the domes.
So Scott, are you saying that that would be an administrative, I guess, lack of a better word, enforcement?
Yeah, I guess I would need to get a better understanding of how and where the domes would be and why the requirement is. I think, again, with respect to drainage and stuff, I think we can, we can make those, again, it's the city's property, the right of way, we can make those improvements when we're doing it. So I guess I should probably get with Susie on that. We're going to be meeting later this week, so on one of our upcoming agenda items here, but and we could talk about that as well. But I do think it's something that the planning commission could probably undertake and address, because I thought there was a provision about those parking pads. Susie, you couldn't find anything?
Nope. No, I have.
And I don't know if we need to spend any more time on that today, but we wanted to bring it to your attention that we think this is an item that does need some attention, and if nothing else, to make certain that our policies are consistent and perhaps even informing residents of what they can anticipate going forward.
I'm sorry, I'm just having a hell of a time with my electronics.
Yeah, we can see. Just a quick question. So are the residents responsible for the dome, for installing the dome, or the city is responsible for that?
I would say if they want to do it, then they've got to be responsible for it. It's, I mean.
But we do the assessment whether or not a dome is needed.
That is based on information we got from Oakland County.
Okay.
So I would say that if the resident wants to use parking or park in the right of way, then one, it's their responsibility to maintain whatever parking space they have to the city standards and Oakland County standards.
Okay.
For
So
stormwater.
what's the cost for a dome? Do we know? Any idea?
You're asking the wrong civil engineering training.
Scott's unmuted, so.
Yeah, it's probably $2,000 to $3,000.
Okay.
For a standard catch basin.
Gotcha. Okay.
But
Scott,
remember,
why are they requiring the catch basins on just on circular driveways, or what's the?
I'm really not sure. Reading the stormwater management section, it says the road commission for Oakland County. Well, that would only be under the jurisdiction of the road county, which is 12 Mile and Southfield Road. So I'm not sure if it's particularly talking about them two roads having a circular drive.
We had a staff meeting today, and one of the items that we need clarification on was, it was indicated that these requirements apply to all roads in Oakland County, not just Oakland County roads, but I wanted to get a clarification on that in particular from them. So we're awaiting that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure why a catch basin may be needed in the middle of a circular drive if there's positive drainage from one end to the other end.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, all of our general site standard ordinances require that all for parking areas and driveways that surface water be drained appropriately. So I would think Yeah, I guess I would need more information on why they're wanting catch basins and driveways, but
And I want to just kind of second what Scott said, because if you drive down Rainbow during a big rainstorm, a lot of the ones that have the circular driveways are not the ones that are having the drainage issues. There are also some that have the half circular drive. They don't have the drain basin in the middle of the circular drive. They have it on either side. And so I think that we probably need some more specificity when it comes to that.
Yep, I agree.
Okay, thank you. We'll get back to you.
Thank you. And next on the agenda is the discussion. Make that very clear. Discussion of the update of the cannabis marijuana.
I'll let either Scott Baker or Susie take most of this. I do want to point out that there is a date that's incorrect on your cover memo. It was referencing the zoning ordinance public hearing. That upcoming public hearing for the planning commission is July 20th. The memo said July 15th. And then council will be taking up both ordinances on July 26th. At least that's the plan at the present time.
I don't have, unless Susie has more, but I don't have a whole lot to update on this from the last meeting. We are meeting, Susie, Jill, and myself later on this week to kind of tie up some loose ends and just make sure that I think that everything is ready to go for the public hearing next week for the planning commission. So I don't, unless there's anything that you have to add, Susie, I don't have, we continue to receive the public comments and we are including those. Mr. Griffin's comments about the parking has been noted, and that is something that we're also going to make sure is adequately included and taken care of.
Didn't we have an open point the last council meeting? I think Bruce and I brought it up.
Yeah,
There was a
that
misunderstanding.
changing the number of licenses to allow for both co-located medical as well as recreational.
Okay, was that changed? Did you update that?
Yeah, that's part of what we're going over later this week, making sure
Okay.
that there's no conflict that was created by that update between the zoning and the general ordinance. So
Okay,
that update will be in your packet for the well, it'll be probably in the planning commission packet as well, but for the July 20th public hearing date.
So that wasn't changing it to have more, correct?
It was different than what was in the last version that you saw. The last version allowed for 2 licenses total, either recreational or medical. At the request of Bruce and Ian, it'll be amended to allow for a total of 4 licenses, but only 2 locations. So potentially the city could have 2 recreational and 2 medical dispensaries, but that the conditions would be that each facility would have to have 1 of each. So you're only going to have 2 buildings. They may be separated inside. They probably will be separated inside, but that would allow for both the recreational and the medical.
and just for clarification, it's not out of the norm when you look at comparative cities, right? So when we went around and we were on the marijuana committee and we looked at all those cities that were already in place and running that business. It's not out of the norm to have that. So that's why we wanted to get clarification on that.
I can understand things being not in the norm and out of the norm and things like that. I just think that the fact is, even with the feedback, and I'll get into it in a minute, that I've been receiving, to even suggest to get a dispensary and then up it to where that we could possibly have 2 dispensaries, I think that that's a bit much. And I recall the fallout when we considered just having beer and wine to be sold at a gas station, to have 2 places. So, I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't agree with it, but
And
No, I
remember,
understand.
just because the ordinance allows for it doesn't necessarily mean that the city has to issue those licenses. That
Right, exactly.
and that's the big thing. I think that from a standpoint that, you know, the city having control over their ordinances and the language that goes into them, I think is important, whether the city ever intends to issue licenses or not. Drafting your own ordinance versus having a ballot initiative or something that comes in that you really have little to no control over. I think that there's benefits and advantages to doing it the way that the city's currently doing it.
Oh, I agree 100% about us doing the ordinance as we are. I'm just saying upping it to where we can have 2 locations is what I'm not agreeing with.
Well,
So,
we didn't up it that we could have 2 locations. It's
Yeah.
been with the ordinance.
but that's what I was just asking. It was just said that.
It's two physical buildings, and one building could have medical and recreational.
And this is what was contemplated when the marijuana committee gave their recommendation. We're just, I think, correcting the ordinance to where we think it should have been.
Right. It's reflecting what we
the way I
recommended.
wrote it, I interpreted it as 2 total facilities, whether they're marijuana, or I'm sorry, whether they're recreational cannabis or whether they're medical marijuana. I just wrote it for 2. And allowed for co-locating so that there potentially could be one facility that has both medical and recreational, but I have amended that to allow for 2 facilities, which could potentially have both. Doesn't necessarily mean they have to. It's just providing them with that opportunity should they wish to apply for the medical along with the recreational.
Right.
Nope, I still don't understand because it sounds like you're saying 2 buildings or 2 facilities. I'm thinking I'm hearing that right, but it doesn't matter at this point because I don't.
Well, no, you are hearing that, correct, Kelly? That's
what I thought.
And that's what. Yeah, no, but that's what's always been contemplated, is that we're going to be the potential for 2 licenses, which potentially could be 2 facilities, which is why we were discussing initially we had written in language in the zoning ordinance that prohibited the facilities from being within a certain distance of each other. And then after discussions, we talked about removing that, allowing them, let the markets, so to speak, dictate where those facilities would go, and not necessarily prohibit them from being right next door to each other. So it's always been contemplated that there's the potential for up to 2 facilities. It's just now adding for the different types, I guess, or the different clientele that would be frequenting those facilities.
Right.
Yeah, can we visit the parking? I know, Scott, you said you were taking into account what Mr. Griffin proposed. I guess I have some questions on that. I guess my question is if we make an exception for marijuana businesses, then shouldn't we be making this same provision for all businesses? I mean,
well, currently we don't allow any business that's applying for site plan approval to count public right-of-way parking towards their minimum requirements.
Right. Okay.
We do allow them to utilize it should they, but we also require them to obtain a license from the, in this particular case, it's going to be Oakland County because all of our commercial parcels abut Oakland County road right away. So that would be consistent, but I do think it is worth putting it in and including it just so that there's no ambiguity and no question about it.
Yeah, my concern was just to make sure that we were being consistent, and it sounds like we are, so I'm fine.
Yeah, and I think we changed that when we switched over to clear zoning, and Jill could probably, well, she's not here, but she could confirm that. But I think so that's about 2010. We made that change. We adjusted the parking calculations and no longer you allow them to utilize that. So, but I do think it's important to include it.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.
But just so we're
Anything
clear,
else?
yeah, so just so we're clear, the only open point that we actually had was just clarifying the amount of licenses per building, and then you and Jill will then review, finalize, and then be ready for the planning commission meeting to present the ordinances, the potential ordinances?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, there's also some accompanying documents that we need to prepare that's we're going to be working on. Applications, scoring criteria, things of that nature, more administrative type stuff that, you know, in the event council were to approve these ordinances and, you know, so that we're ready to hit the ground running and there's not a delay. You know, there's going to have to be all those things in place. So that's what we're also going to be working on.
Right. And just for clarification, just so we're all understanding, not just council, but people listening. So these ordinances are used as a guideline, not necessarily for the city to say we're automatically going to open up to or give approval for 2 marijuana businesses, but having guidelines to make a decision whether or not we do that. Correct?
Well, they established the protocol, the parameters, and the requirements for businesses interested in operating in the city, and then yeah, ultimately it'll be a decision to issue those licenses or not.
Right. Okay.
And again, just as a reminder, you know, and also for people listening, is when we did create the ordinance, you know, we did set a very high bar, higher than most other cities in terms of, you know, minimum scoring. I think we said 85% or 85 points out of 100 are required, even for them to be allowed to, for us to be allowed to issue a license. So we set the bar very high. I think other cities were closer to 70 or so. We figured that, you know, because if we do this, based upon what we've seen up to this point, we know that there's going to be a lot of interest for those licenses, and so therefore we can afford to be very, very choosy.
Yeah.
And I have a question, just being late to this portion of it, Scott, if I could ask you, are you working with a consultant when it comes to setting up those rubrics? And are those something that are shared publicly? Are those something that Cheryl will review and create with you? How exactly does that process work?
So that's going to be, we're going to be doing that internally. That's something that all throughout this entire process, you know, there's been no shortage of offers for help. It's just a question of, you know, where and what their underlying intentions may be. So we've made a conscious and purposeful decision to keep it all internal. Susie, Jill, and myself have been working closely together throughout this process. And so that's what, you know, and the reason we're doing it this way in part is to protect you all of you as council members too, so that you're not, you know, no one can say and make accusations that, you know, in addition to his asphalt company and concrete company, that Bruce also has a cannabis grow operation in his.
Great, Scott. You had to use my name as the
yeah.
example.
Well, I mean, you did acquire that additional 7 feet of property. I know there's a greenhouse going up there. So, but no, we've tried to keep it as transparent and protect council members as much as possible from any sort of, you know, accusations, things of those nature.
Yep.
Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I just want to thank Mr. Griffin for sending his letter. Appreciate it. And as you've seen, we're taking that into account and into, you know, the appropriate considerations. So thanks, Mr. Griffin.
Yeah, I also want to thank Julie Claire for sending an email to me, expressing her opinion. Really value that, and I appreciate it. And also, Mr. Griffin, thank you so much. Really appreciate that.
And I just want to thank Kelly Garrett for going to Panera with me yesterday, and when Kim Hodge set up a meeting of concerned citizens. And so Kelly and I were there, and we didn't even get a bagel. So
Yeah, thanks for doing
Kelly
that.
didn't buy you a bagel? What?
It wasn't Kelly's meeting.
it wasn't. So Kelly came because she was asked. You know, that's why I went. So
Kelly usually buys bagels.
Kelly will buy if it's my meeting, but it wasn't my meeting. So there's that.
Well, technically, aren't all council meetings your meetings as the mayor?
No,
You
it's
buy
not.
bagels?
No, it's the city of Lathrup Village. And
Okay.
it's so much the city of Lathrop Village is that somebody's gonna be upset when they come because I drank your bubbly. So whoever is up here, sorry.
I'm
Susie.
I'm so glad you enjoyed it. I'm so glad you
And
enjoyed
I've
it.
never had one before, so I'm really like, wow, this is pretty good. But I was so thirsty that we don't even have water anymore. So I mean, I'll get you another one.
Hey, no worries. I try to keep a few in there, so it's
I
all
see
good.
that you keep the bare minimum in there. I see, but that's cool.
Well, I may have already drank one or two this morning or this afternoon,
Mhm.
so I depleted the stock, but I'll make sure there's some more up there for you.
It's really good. I'm gonna get some for my house.
Let's be honest, Kelly, you thought it was a White Claw, didn't you?
If it was a White Claw, I would have left it alone because that's gross. But
I don't know. I've never had one.
I tried it. Trust me, that's gross. We did. Speaking of the meeting that we did have yesterday, it was one. I only thought 4 people were gonna come. It was more or less like 20, 25 people that were there. And it was it really kind of shed some different light on things for me. And I think that more of those probably need to happen because just to be clear, to provide clarity to a lot of the residents. I know that one thing that just kind of was clarified just a moment ago, but I just want to say it again, that this ordinance does not mean that this opens the door to the approval of marijuana in Lathrop, because it was stated yesterday that usually once you have an ordinance in place, then you have to move forward, and that's the law, meaning that you can also, you have to now have cannabis. And so that's not what I heard, and I'm just verifying that with Scott. So just say yes, that's right.
You're on mute, Scott.
I'm muted. Yeah, no, you're correct. That's what I stated earlier. And that's a big thing. I mean, I'll be completely candid. At first I was really reluctant to go down this path. And I think the more I looked into it and the more I understood it, to me, it's almost essential that it's something that we do and we have our own ordinances in place just to maintain that control that I mentioned earlier. So I do think it's an important thing, and I think that's a big thing for residents to understand. That if you don't do something, if you're not proactive, you could end up being stuck with an ordinance that really is not a good fit for your city. And an example of that is what happened and what's going on in Pontiac right now.
Exactly.
So getting out ahead of it and you holding the reins is I think very important.
I agree.
Scott, can you quickly explain what happened in Pontiac, just so people know?
Well, basically, they got stuck with a ballot initiative that passed in ordinances that were pretty much unregulated. And I mean, Jill could give you a lot more detail because she's working with them trying to patch some of the holes and what they were stuck with. But yeah, I mean, a ballot initiative, once that language comes in, it's very difficult for the city to overturn that. They have to then propose and send it back to the voters. It's costly, it's time consuming, and it's not, you guys know how ballot initiatives go. So it's difficult, and it's not, and you could be stuck with those consequences. Businesses open up under the ballot initiative language, and then they become grandfathered in. It just, there's a whole litany of issues that could develop from it. So like I said, getting out in front of it is very important.
Yeah,
Right.
and we do know that there is both an initiative underway to create an ordinance through a petition. We also know that there's a referendum underway to prohibit it, via petition. So both sides are working this besides us. I think even some of the council members have had people coming to their home wanting signatures for a positive ordinance, and there's also ballot or a referendum going around as well to outlaw it. So again, it gives us as Scott said, it gives us the ability to put some control around it.
Yeah, and I think the city I think you guys did a great job in not jumping to be one of the first ones in line to do it, sitting back, kind of watching how things developed, what other communities have done, so you have a better understanding of what what works and what doesn't, so to speak. So I think you're doing it the right way. And again, it just because, like what the mayor is saying, just because if the ordinances are enacted and they are in place, doesn't necessarily mean that licenses are going to be issued. So
Right. Hey, a couple of observations. So, when we did the research, after we handed it over and made our recommendation, the marijuana committee, those members that are on council right now, we've been totally out of the loop when it came to making decisions, when it came to writing ordinances, when it came to anything after we made the submission and recommendation. So it's totally in Scott Baker's hands, as well as Jill. They haven't asked us for any recommendations other than the recommendations we made as a marijuana committee, which did consist of several residents. And that's it, basically. The other observation is my wife was actually at the Panera event. So out of that event, I wanted to find out from Cheryl, do we still have the list of participants that were on the marijuana committee? Because I think we should make that public. I think we had that as a public upload at one point or another, but I'd like to know if we could, reactivate that and show who was on the committee.
We did discuss it already last night, and we told everyone who was on the committee.
Okay, that's fine.
Any other discussion regarding this? Hearing none, we will go to public comment, and that is,
I think, Kelly, I think you missed the update, item G.
oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at it too. I'm trying to make this be over with, right? The discussion update street and capital improvement projects.
And
My
I
personal nightmare right now, as Cheryl will know from the weekend.
yes, that's why we're giving you a taser. But Scott Ringler will provide an update.
Well, it's
So
probably a
let's
good
just-
thing I haven't heard about Kelly's weekends.
Oh, you know what, Scott, you have, but you haven't heard, you've heard it through other people, because Bruce called you on my behalf as I paced the whole city of Lathrop, because I was watching people. I almost got hit by a car twice because I was trying to explain the cones were there for a reason. They're not there optional kind of thing. And one got cussed out, and then the lady behind her zoomed through, and I mean literally had to like jump out the way so I wouldn't be hit by a white SUV with a license plate that starts with a D, ends with a W. So take that for whatever it's worth, because I literally almost got hit, and this has been a nightmare for me on Santa Barbara. Just FYI.
Sorry about that.
It's not your fault. It's just, I guess, and this is me pulling out my soapbox is that the cones are not optional. That's not just for, for show. And it's where the police came out, put police tape up, someone actually snapped it and threw the and threw the cone on my lawn.
Kelly, we deal with it every day. They move the barricades so they can drive down the street.
I don't get it, but
Yeah,
I'm over it.
Yeah, the public service announcement piece of that is that when you do that, you're only hurting yourself, because you're degrading the streets before they start, and your brand new street is going to last 10 years instead of 20 or less than that even. So if you see barricades, don't go down the streets.
And if you hit a person, you're probably gonna go to jail too. I'm just saying.
Well,
And actually, there's a law. If you hit a elected official, if you do something to an elected official, I did read that once. At one point in my life, I needed to know about that. So
yeah,
there
I
is
think
a
you
law.
get an award or something like that.
Right. A medal.
At least a proclamation.
So I was more or less concerned about, like what Bruce was saying about the degradation of the roads, of having people drive on them too soon. Yeah. So I mean, and then I did walk, and I saw where someone else was talking about down Santa Barbara, where it looks like it's bubbling up. The asphalt has cracked.
yeah, we have a couple of them instances, Kelly, one is north of San Jose. That's an issue that the contractor caused. They're gonna be replacing that. They
Okay,
drove on a freshly placed mat with their big trucks. And yes, we know about that. There's a couple on the south part where we just resurfaced that failed. Not necessarily the contractor's issue, but then we're gonna get saw cut and repaired before we top it all out.
so I saw that because it looks like they saw cut it, and I'm
Yeah.
only using your words because I'm trying to learn these words now. It looks like they had cut into the road anyway, right around.
Yep. Yeah,
Oh,
so
that's what I
that
thought
will
it
get
was gonna-
removed and replaced before
Okay.
they top it. So as far as the road work, all the streets are substantially complete except Santa Barbara. There are a few side streets, I think it's Alhambra, Wiltshire, and San Jose that still need a top course of asphalt on the driveways. They have saw cut the driveways on Santa Barbara today. They should be removing them tomorrow. Kelly, am I wrong?
Santa Barbara down further.
Yeah.
I'm doing more towards the southern half. They haven't worked up towards.
Okay, so there
Okay.
were, I know they've had a lot of rain issues last week.
Yeah,
They left early today because they had a safety meeting mandatory, but anyways, they should be getting the finished saw cutting. They should be removed tomorrow and starting the
Okay.
replacement Wednesday or Thursday. Of course, that concrete needs, 5 to 7 days of cure. So my hope is that they're gonna pave out the end of next week.
okay.
So we haven't gotten a final schedule from ASI on that. We're working for that. So really, the only remaining items after that is they have some culvert cleaning, landscape restoration, and a small punch list. So, the goal would be to have them out of town by end of month. They still have to work at the DPW, but that's not gonna bother anybody but DPW staff.
Yeah, and I assume, Scott, you guys, you and Andy do kind of a last ditch walkthrough looking for,
Yeah.
landscaping and cracks and things like that. 'Cause
That's
I
the
know
final
we-
punch list, yeah.
Yeah, because I know I'm just kind of stating that as obvious, just because we've had a lot of contacts, complaints, Facebook messages and so forth about issues that aren't really issues because you're not done. Like, with Santa Barbara, when the first lift was on there was a whole bunch of stuff going on Facebook about, how could they do this? Look at this, it's horrible workmanship. And it's like, it's not done, guys. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to ask the obvious so people would hear that and know that one, it's not done yet, and two, once it is done, there will be a final review.
Yeah, we do
to
a final
address these
walkthrough.
things.
That's why I'm not on Facebook.
A couple other minor things they're gonna do. They're gonna do a couple of the alley approaches. One's off Cambridge, one's off Sunnybrook, just east of Southfield. That's gonna be through the DDA. And they're gonna do the hump grinding on eastbound 11 mile on the east side of Southfield Road. There's a big hump there between the asphalt and the concrete. That's gonna be done probably really early in the morning, and we'll work with and make sure the police department, knows when that time's gonna be. They'll probably be out there at 4 or 5 in the morning to do that work before a lot of traffic.
It's not gonna be noisy, is it?
Not very noisy. I mean, they're gonna have probably like a little mill out there, but the work's probably gonna take them guys, I'm gonna say 15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
It's gonna be quick. It won't be an all morning thing.
Does the rain ever slow you guys down?
What's that, Ian?
Sorry, Bruce, I didn't even hear you dive in there. Does the rain ever slow the crew down at all? Because we're
for
expecting
sure.
heavy rain this week, like you would not
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't work much last week.
Wow.
They kept getting rained out.
Okay.
So
Wow, it's gonna be
Yep.
the same this week.
we always
Yeah.
say weather dependent.
Yep.
Scott,
And then,
oh, I'm sorry, you're not done. Never
I'm gonna
mind. Go ahead.
finish.
Yeah, go. I thought you were
Okay.
done. I would go finish and then I'll see if you answer my question.
So, we had a little concern with the bike route at Southfield and Lathrup Boulevard. That's all been revised. So we have new signage put up that's going to direct bicyclists down the sidewalks of 11 mile to Southfield and then back down 11 mile to Lathrup. Then we're all installed. I saw them yesterday or the weekend, so I'm going to assume at some point late last week they were installed. The exterior excavation Sunday is done with 83 of them. On a positive note, all 83 have had copper on both sides of the stop box, so that's good. They still have to finish. We got a total of 315 by end of year, so they still got a lot of them to do. They've replaced 14 fire hydrants. We want to have about 45 of them by the end of year, so they're moving forward on that. They're waiting on a lot of parts, hydrants, basically.
Yeah, do we have any, I guess assurance isn't the right word, but do we have any estimate of when those parts are gonna come in? I mean, I know they're way behind.
I don't, Bruce. I'll ask Randy this Thursday when we talk to them every Thursday to try to get an update.
Yeah.
As far as gate valves, they've refurbished 19 of them. We want to get about 75 of them done by end of year. So they're moving. I want to talk to them this Thursday about, trying to kick that up a little bit. Because I know what happens in the fall. They get busy with leaves and other stuff.
Yep.
We have about 300 interior verifications completed. Still have about 11 or 1,200 to go. So we got a lot of them.
Wow.
So a few weeks ago, we finished 7 of the lead and copper replacements. We still have 1 to go. We had a little hiccup with the existing size. So we're working on this rescheduling that one. And I think that's all I got for you. Oh, future project, I'm sorry. Water main on San Rosa in Wiltshire from Southfield to Lathrup. We're in the middle of getting our permit from Eagle. So I'm thinking Sunday we'll be starting on that around Labor Day. I'm pretty sure they've ordered materials already though. Try to make sure they got all the materials ready to go.
And have those people been notified other than our town halls and things like that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Cheryl, is there something that we might want to do in terms of like a pre-notification, just like a letter or something, just to let them know that it's coming?
Oh, I'm sure I'll be typing something up.
All right, quick question regarding lead abatement. So of course it's mandated by the state. What percentage does Lathrup have to remove this year, and where are we as far as percentage?
You are required, Ian, to replace 5% of your known lead services over the next 20 years. So really 5%
per year.
5% per year over the next 20 years. So that in 20 years, you're 100% complete.
Okay, and where are we right now as far as?
Boy, it's hard to say. I think we have about 14 known letter galvanized. Cheryl and I have talked about trying to get the contractor back in this fall for a couple days, probably to do about 8 more of them.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're at about 50% of known at this point.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that includes the water boxes as well, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're redoing the water boxes. They do that. And then Sunday Brothers is replacing water boxes for the, excuse me, exterior excavations also.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
And it's also where you will be going back around, or not you, but someone will be going back around and replacing the lawn and whatever else was messed up, correct?
Yeah,
There was someone was concerned that wasn't happening, and they were gonna have to do it themselves.
Yeah, that should be happening fairly frequently. I'm not sure what Sunday's process is. We had talked about like every Friday they go back through and do the landscape restoration. We haven't had a lot of sidewalk issues doing this process. We have some on Lincoln.
Mhm.
It was kind of a weird case. I don't know. We got a ton of them. I don't know why.
You mean just the random picking?
No, it was one weird house that had a ton of them.
Yeah. Cracking of the sidewalks.
Yeah.
I've had those same comments, Kelly, for restoration work for the excavations. So I've just been asking Crush to go out and take another look.
Yeah,
So.
Kelly, I apologize. I thought you meant the exterior excavations. I'll talk to the contractor tomorrow about the lead and copper ones. Them guys are really good. They usually do that the same day. So
Just
Yep.
repeating what I heard.
No, that's fine.
Nothing that I saw. Any other questions regarding the street and capital improvement projects? And just for anyone that didn't know, Scott Ringler is our city engineer. I thought about it, that perhaps there might be people that's in the audience, like, who is he talking? And just to reiterate that, so thank you. We like to have all Scotts in certain positions, so
Yeah.
makes it easier. So thank you, Scott. Going into public comment. This is where you are able to bring up whatever you want to make a comment on. And then, of course, I do have a few comments that came in last week. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to make a comment? I cannot see if there's hands up on my iPad.
There are no hands up.
Okay. The first comment that I have is from, I guess I should say an anonymous person, but then it shows me who it is. But it says, I'm strongly opposed to cannabis in our village. We have young children who live near the commercial zones. This is a sure way to destroy the home values and the quality of life we cherish. Cannabis brings stench, intoxication, and mob infighting. And for what? A tiny fraction of the city budget. Raising home values will more than compensate for the difference. Don't let outside groups and special interests trump the wishes and well-being of Lathrup Village residents and taxpayers. That would be a grave error, choosing a paltry short-term profit at the expense of long-term quality of life, health, and prosperity. Do the right thing and keep cannabis out of Lathrup. Thank you. The next one
Kelly,
is,
this is
yes.
Dawn, and I know we don't respond to public comments, but I do have just a procedural question. If it is a public comment, then I'm not sure how it can be anonymous. Is that something that typically is allowed at city council?
So that's what I was kind of figuring that out, because at the top it says submitted anonymous, and then I see the name and I see the but it's not an address or anything in it, and it's the name is Jed, but there's no address or anything like that that's on here. And they come to my email, I read them, and then it's not, if I'm not mistaken, Scott Baker, we're not required to make them say their address. And
Correct. And there's no, that if someone were to, a lifetime ago when we used to have meetings in person, if someone stepped up to the podium and told us that their name was Fred Flintstone, they made their comment, we're not gonna, check their ID. So if an individual wishes to remain anonymous, then that's, we can respect that wish.
And thank you. I just didn't understand that part of the procedure.
thank you. Well, they all say anonymous at the top, and then the name is right there underneath. That's why I was a little confused on these. So the next one is from David Lee Danforth. And this is, why are the city council meetings still done remotely? I think we need live, in-person, face-to-face council meetings to discuss issues, promote transparency and trust, and meet our neighbors. It's been proven that remote learning is not as effective as in person. So I'll make a comment on this one, because I truly would have stayed home and on my own internet today, but I opened myself up to say that you could come here and sit and we can do this council together. And there is absolutely nobody here. So I'm not really sure where the lack of transparency is with Zoom. I think we have more people that are engaged and understanding what's going on through Zoom. I understand the face-to-face interactions. I think we all need that. And then I got my master's degree online, and it was pretty damn hard. So I will not say that remote learning was not easy. It was much easier just to slouch and be in class and answer a few questions, and having to be disciplined to go in and always have something to say in 250 words or more. So I'm just, defending myself in that one.
Yeah.
So I apologize for making that personal one. But
And I was just gonna
regarding,
say, just to add to that, Kelly, too, the other thing I think that is germane to that particular public comment is that our numbers are 3-4 times higher in terms of attendees in the Zoom meetings. I mean, obviously, we're going to go back to being in person, but obviously, residents are finding this convenient because our typical meeting, unless there's some really hot issue, has maybe 2 or 3 people in the audience, and we've been averaging 18, 19. I think there's 15 people called in right now, or zoomed in right now. So if anything, we're getting more transparency rather than less. So
Right. And
and
plus,
I got one more, go ahead, Ian, because I did get one more anonymous letter that was sent to
yeah,
me.
let me just add, I mean, we don't have 100% vaccinated people in certain cities and just in the nation in general. So, the mandate, we can't really go back to, in person yet. And I'm not saying because we're not at 100%, we're not going to do it, but we're just trying to stay safe. And we're efficient. As hard as these Zoom calls are, we are efficient. We have been efficient for the last year and a half. A lot of cities can't do what we're doing right now.
Also, when it comes to the meeting next week for the planning commission and for our meeting on the 26th, it is offered, or I would like to offer, and I'm saying this more to Cheryl, to set up in the community room. Whoever wants to come on council, come. Otherwise, it's still going to be via Zoom, but at least have one of us there to have the actual, computer there, and where people feel a hybrid situation of what we've been talking about, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So we just need to figure that out, because I think that if, there's numerous people that want to speak that aren't Zoom savvy, to give them this opportunity, especially on something that is passionate as they are about cannabis. So,
If I could interject, it may not be the community room. It may need to be technically in the council chambers, but with viewing spaces throughout the building.
oh, absolutely. That's fine. I mean, however you want to do it, I'll tell you about what it looks like, up here right now, just as long as we can take care of this stuff now. But there's a chat I saw that popped up too before I do the next comment something that's popped up in the chat, and I'm afraid to move this around to more.
Would you like me to read it?
Yes, please.
Hello, Lathrop Village. My name is Kenneth Bryant, a Southfield Lathrop alumni, class of 2001. We have operated with 2 retail marijuana businesses in the state of Michigan, one in Ann Arbor and another in Big Rapids. When deciding to issue licenses, how will the process go? Will there be a time window for applicants, or first come, first serve? Whoever scores 85% of points first. If any additional insight into the industry or what the city can expect, we'd love to help Lathrop understand what's to come. Email provided is great to email to send any information or continue communications. Thank you for your time. And
So
then the
for
next-
that, for that one, if this passes, then we will put something out on how you would go about applying for a license.
And the second one from Mary Tamarelli. As residents, we cannot see any of the citizens participating on Zoom. We have no idea who else is involved or logged in. All we can see are city participants.
Because it's a webinar. Gotcha. Thank you.
Mhm.
Duly noted. I did get something up I forgot the gist of the email, but it was something it was about not having flowers at the entry. At the entrance of Lathrop, I believe. Can I forward that to you, Cheryl? And
Yes.
then just to give you an idea about how the Lathrop Village government is ran, all of the people that you see besides the administration is volunteer based. You have to steal water from other staff members.
Yeah. Exactly.
But this is a volunteer group of people that is working extremely hard. And I know that someone sent me something to remind me who pays for my salary. And I have to tell you that I'm sorry, it's not Lathrop. I do this completely free. I have not received one dime. No one else that is on the council has. And I haven't in going on 11 years. So who's really the fool? But anyway.
So Kelly, I just want to say as the newest council member, I was mistaken about that. And I thought we were all going to just make these huge salaries doing this work.
Well, you're in
Don't
here
resign.
She's withdrawing her application.
Don't do that.
You're in here
Dawn,
now, and
your signing bonus is in the mail, Dawn.
Yeah.
Of course.
anybody that would like to trade their salary with me, I would love to give you what I'm making, and we can go from there. So I just really want to reiterate that you really have a hard, the residents of Lathrup Village, and I'm going into my comment, you have a really hard working group of people that truly are, some of us have another full-time job, and then from that we come and we do this. And so our days travel over to 12 to 16 hours a day. At least I know for me that that's how it is. And we're working really hard, and this is purely volunteering because of our love for the city that we also live in. So what pains you also pains me. Hence the reason I'm having an issue with the streets because it does affect me. So I just wanted to reiterate that. And I really do appreciate everybody that came out yesterday. I love the passion. I love that it was also very cordial. It was not what I was kind of expecting. It got a little hairy for a minute, but I really appreciate Kim Hodge. She kept control of the meeting. And I think we did well yesterday. Just a few things, which I'm probably taking Susie's thunder. I have been working on something that Councilman Ferguson had brought up a long time ago, which I'm surprised no one told him about this, because I'm thinking he probably don't know. But there are going to be 2 car shows happening in Lathrop. Actually, one is this Saturday at Michigan First, the Corvette Club, and old school cars will be Michigan First, and food trucks, music, everything's going on there. And I thank you, Susie, for jumping in and helping with that. And then August 14th, I think it's August 14th.
14th, yep.
Thank you. August 14th is going to be, no, the one that's on the 17th is an award show also, right?
Yes, awards at both, actually.
Oh, okay.
I talked to Rick today.
Okay. Well, then you can probably tell more, but on the 14th is going to be another one here on site, but on the parking lot next door, the school parking lot. So I'm excited about that because, believe it or not, I do hear suggestions and try to do some things. So there you have it, Ian. Everything that you wanted in your tenure has come to pass, except the school building, and we can only do what we can do. So
it hurts every time I think about it. Believe me when I tell you.
To even reiterate that we have no control over that school building, and I don't want to go into it because this is recorded. So is there any other council comment that you would like to say? Anyone?
Yeah, I've got a couple. So the first letter you read, there were some inconsistencies in there, and our data, when I say our, meaning the marijuana committee data, basically I'd say the first sentence is not accurate. So everyone seems to think that when marijuana businesses move into a city, your property values go down. They actually go the other way. And all the cities that have marijuana businesses, their property value has gone up since this crazy boom of selling houses. This is way before this. And we were actually shocked that that was actually happening. So that first sentence is not accurate. Second part of that is, I think we talked about this, and Scott Baker will probably confirm what I'm saying. So there are certain zones that we had talked about regarding the ordinance, right? Some, obviously it wouldn't be by a school, wouldn't be by a church, that kind of thing. So I think, Scott, maybe you could clarify a little bit what we had talked about. I believe there's a certain area
Yeah.
that had been considered in Lathrop Village.
Yeah,
Consideration.
there
not-
are buffer zones that are written into the ordinance. Distances from homeless shelters, parks, school buildings.
Right.
Yeah, so there is, and it's also part of the packets that have been included in the agendas. There's a map that was prepared that shows kind of like the circles of the area where
Right.
potential businesses could be located.
Right, exactly.
And one of the
Yeah.
places that you cannot be located is in the city center.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, Ian, I was just gonna say, I just pulled up one of the studies that you were talking about, and what they found was homes close to retail dispensaries within 0.1 miles increased in value approximately 8.4% more compared to those further away.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, we're not trying to sell this to anyone. We're just saying we followed the data. We did all the research, and all of that recommendation is in the data that we submitted to council and to Susie and to Scott, and they're now working on that. Let's see, the other part of that is, so I can't really remember the last part of that statement. We haven't made a decision. Yeah, I mean, there's no decision that we as council have made yet. We don't have any ordinances to vote on. We haven't done anything. We've just made the recommendation, and it's out of our hands at this point. So we have to let the process follow itself, and ultimately it will come to us. So that's about it on marijuana. The other thing I want to talk to you guys about, and Mayor Garrett, I think I sent an email to you and Dr. Mitchell regarding this. So just give everyone a backstory here. When you drive up and down Lathrup Boulevard, whether it's going north or south, the roads on the east side, they dead end to the city of Southfield, right? The last house on each of those blocks actually share a fence with Southfield. So we have an issue going on with a resident in the Southfield, on the Southfield side. And our Lathrup Village resident is having an issue with it. So clearly this house is having some major violations. I mean, water violations, garbage. I've already put in a C-click fix. Hopefully Southfield probably will see that. I've already contacted Mayor Cyber regarding this, but this is a Lathrup Village resident that has been very patient, and she's following the process, and I'm really helping her try to get to a resolution. So as a city, when we talk about council and the mayor, if we have an issue like this, I think we really need to get involved to try to assist in trying to get to a resolution, because to say that it's a Southfield issue when this Lathrup Village resident shares a fence with Southfield, we cannot afford to just take that position. That is my position on it. Maybe a lot of you all may not agree with that, but we all pay a significant amount of taxes, including this young lady. And I think she is not getting the value out of her tax base.
So as I responded to you, was you are already in contact with Mayor Cyber. So you are doing what the mayor and council would do, and that is escalating it. But as it comes, and I would follow that through since you are already working on that. And when it comes to the administrative part of the city of Lathrop Village, we can't give them code violations. It's not in the city of Lathrop Village, it's Southfield. There's nothing that we can do in towards that resident in Southfield, short of contacting their DPS, contacting their mayor, and it sounds like you've already done it. So I'm not really sure what more you want us to do with that.
Well, I think, you know, as a city code enforcement person, I think we should at least put it on a list for a follow-up, not necessarily giving that person the lead, but at least keep it on the list so we can see what that process is. What are the next steps so we could communicate that to the resident?
And we're getting the
I'm a
next
non-
steps
I'm
from
a-
where?
Right, I'm a non-paying elected official, so I have a day job, and it's, believe me when I tell you, I am trying my best to resolve this issue. It's been going on for well over a year, well over 2 years. And so I think it's not asking too much to ask our code enforcement person to keep it on the list to follow up with the city of Southfield.
In these cases, can't we, and I'm going to put more work on Cheryl's plate, but can Cheryl as our administrator talk with their administrator people and deal with it that way? And I guess maybe if that's not happening, then city council and somebody like you, Ian, could connect with the mayor or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, would that conversation at the administrative level yield some results? That'd be
More than
I
I
would-
was going to
Go
say,
ahead.
there's a couple of ways of handling it. You can handle it elected official to elected official, which sounds like what you did. And unless you loop me into what the contents of those conversations are, it's hard for me to follow up. Or you can defer to me as the administrator to contact the administrator over in Southfield. And then I'm already in the communication loop, and then I can keep you and the resident apprised.
Yep. So what I'll do is I'll continue to follow the process. If I get to a certain roadblock, then I'll open it up, because I don't want to add it to your plate, Dr. Mitchell, because of all the activities that we're all going through right now. But I just want to make sure that we have an avenue to move to, because right now it's, Southfield's following up, and at some point we're going to have an issue. So is the next step for me to send an email to you and CC the mayor, and then we go from there?
You've already sent the email. What Cheryl's saying is to explain, I guess, the conversation that you had with the mayor already. And I think that's what Cheryl is saying, that we don't know what are the next steps, because you haven't told us what was your conversation with the mayor of Southfield.
Okay, all right. I think I may have put a little bit of that in the email, but basically I contacted the mayor of Southfield, and I gave him the address, and I said there's numerous code violations going on. He was fully aware of it. He said he's not sure where the process is, but he would follow up, and that was roughly a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, with his code enforcement person, to have them go back out there to see if they had some lapses in follow-up. And at that point, I sent an email saying, hey, we had this issue with a house in Southfield. So I have not heard back from the mayor of Southfield, so I will follow up to find out what the update is. And at that point, then I'll keep you guys in the loop.
Yeah, because I guess I'm confused on what is it that you wanted us to do when you were already it sounds like you already handled it and you got a response on it. And so it's just a follow-up to Mayor Cyber to find out where their process is.
Yeah. So I'll follow up and then send you guys an email.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. The last part of my, I've got another observation here. So the bike route sign. So Susie and I have been talking about a bike route sign that's on the residence property. And I think that person called in during the last council meeting. And they obviously had an issue with the sign there. So I think actually Susie went out and, did her daily walk, looked at all the signs, and I'm not sure if there are any changes that will happen, but I wanted to bring this back up just to try to get some closure and move to the next step if possible.
So I have a question about that, because I've seen those comments on the villagers page. And is that one actually not in the right of way? Because most of the ones that I have seen have been actually in the right of way. Between
Yeah,
the
that's
sidewalk.
in the right of way.
Yeah, it is. It's in the right of way.
So then actually it isn't their per se personal property.
Right.
Right.
It's about, and just to add to it, it's about maybe 6 feet off the actual property line. With the property to the south. The only reason it's not on the actual property line is because there are mailboxes there. So, I mean, really just to move it, it would just go down to the next, there's not that many homes between that and the next intersection. Really, it would just be moving it down to the opposite end of this resident's property. I don't see us moving it.
So, and I guess I want to present the what then happens next. I also have one on my property that is in the right of way. So if you move one for one resident, does that mean that we will be adjusting them for all residents? And again, not saying that we can't do that, but is that a cost that we necessarily should, incur?
That's rhetorical, right?
Yeah, I look out my window right here, looking to my left, I look at a sign. So, I mean, it's the luck of the draw or
Yeah.
I should say the unluck of the draw.
Yep.
Yeah.
I understand. All right, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I only have one comment, and that's just building on what you said about the collegiality of that meeting. I wasn't at that meeting, but I did do some door-to-door neighbor talks today, and was walking the city for a few hours talking to people, and it was really, I guess, restorative to have one-on-one conversations where they were collegial conversations, even with people who completely disagree with my stance on issues. But it was great to have those conversations versus what we see most of the time with the social media, where people kind of cowardly throw the hand grenade over the fence and then are no longer there. So to talk about, so it was really, really nice. A lot of people, a lot of interest in cannabis. I do have to say that there were I think I counted I had 16 people talk to me about who were in favor of it, and I had 3 people who were against it, one vehemently against it. But it was a great conversation, and he told me why, and I really appreciated that. It was just so refreshing to have that kind of conversation versus what we see a lot of the time. So, so that's my only comment for today.
I agree. I had one last one. I forgot to mention this. So last year we had a virtual summer stroll, which was all done on video. Everyone saw that on the Villagers Facebook page. And this year, guess what? We're having a in-person stroll. That would be August 15th. And I cannot stress enough how excited I am that this is still happening. And I'm also asking people who are listening, and those of you who are on video, if you can just support the stroll, because our volunteer group is kind of decimated, and we need to get some volunteers to try to help organize. Not very much organizing. I don't want to give you too much. We will already have bands. We just need some people to kind of assist and get things flowing correctly. And Adam Laurie is kind of spearheading that, and we want to make sure that we get the word out. So August 15th is a summer stroll, and we would graciously accept any volunteers that would assist. If you could please contact either me or the city administrator, she will forward my phone number, and then we'll go from there. Okay, if you can't reach me by way of email, we would really appreciate that.
Yeah, my
Thank
only
you.
comment, I just wanted to, just thank the city for putting on the various events. This last concert was great. Again, inside, you had to make do with the bad weather, so, but it was still really good. And just excited. Yeah, I've gotten a lot of comments from people as I've been walking around about the street repair and all that's going on with the infrastructure. I think people are very generally very happy about it. So I just want to thank the people that served on that infrastructure committee, and then also that marijuana committee, and giving their recommendations on both those issues. I think we had a good, hardworking, unbiased group of people in both committees who helped give their recommendations, and then it's up to city council to vote on those issues and get them implemented or not. So just want to make those comments. Thanks.
Thank you. Total side note, Dawn, will you please email me your phone number?
Yes, I will.
And actually
Yeah, me
probably
too.
forward it to, I don't know if Cheryl already has it to, so the council people can have it. We'll get all that. I just want to say it before I forgot it. So.
No, that's fine. And just a tip, everyone always wants to say my last name like Melody, but it's not. It's like a medley of vegetables.
All right.
That's the easiest way. It's the medley. It's just 2 syllables, but everybody always wants to say Melody, and I don't know why.
Well, thank you for the clarification. Do you have anything that you would like to share before we close out?
No, just thank you for allowing me this opportunity. So.
No, welcome aboard. So now I have someone else that's in my corner, so this mansplaining can die down just a little bit. So
Excuse me.
I don't even know what that means.
Excuse me, I have never mansplained to you, and I respect all the women on these videos. I never cut them
As
off.
he mansplains, that he's not mansplaining, right?
exactly. So we need to
Kelly, let me define mansplaining for you.
and I never said you didn't respect the women here. Is you're just like, oh, okay. Anyway, but just kidding. I have to yank their chain as much as possible. I'm really happy to have you on here, and I mean, you really jumped in feet first. So good luck with this.
Thank you. Welcome aboard. Councilman Medley.
Mayor, I have 2 quick comments I want to share
It's
with
not on the
everyone.
agenda though. I read everything verbatim. It says nothing about the administrator saying anything, but I'll give it to you.
All right, thank you. I just want to remind everyone that the Bark in the Park activity is scheduled for Friday, early evening. Hopefully the weather will cooperate. And also I wanted to let you know that the retirement celebration for Officer Rock Upshaw is scheduled for Thursday, July 29th, I believe starting at 12 noon and going for the rest of that afternoon. So everyone's invited, and I think we'll be set up to accept donations as well for that event.
Oh, nice.
Is that at the city building? Community room?
It's planned to be outside.
Outside, okay, okay.
Unfortunately, I would not be here for both of them, but I will send my regards.
Oh, can you put it in the chat? I'm sorry, Mayor Garrett.
Okay. It's okay.
Dr. Mitchell, can you put it in the chat? Please, thank you.
Anything else? Hearing none, I would welcome an adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
You all have a good evening, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks so much. Congratulations, Dawn.
Thank you.
Take care.